plays an important role in making our correctional system here in Utah vibrant and effective, and I just appreciate all of our employees and the good work they do.
Hello everyone. How are you? Doing well, Brian. How are you? It's really great to meet you.
Well, as Governor Cox said, there's 23,000 state employees and one gets recognized every month, so it's a great honor for Brian to be able to receive this, and it's well deserved.
I can tell you from being in the trenches, working at the prison, spirits are high, morale is high, because we see the positive changes that are happening, and we see that decisions are being made based on what's sincerely in the best interest of those who are in our care. Education does a lot of things. It opens doors of opportunity. It opens doors of opportunity for careers and further education. But to me, the most powerful part is the transformative part of mind and of self-identity. It helps people not only understand themselves better, but understand the world around them better. And when you understand yourself and the world around you better, you feel more of a desire to play an active, positive role in that.
3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Last one here. 3, 2, 1.
Let's have all of you come.
I'm just so proud that he was selected, and it reflects on his leadership and his abilities and the way that he presents himself every day in the work. So I was excited to see him picked, and I think it's reflective of the confidence that the governor has in the Department of Corrections and the talent that's there.
For me, it's a great honor. Obviously, the opportunity to represent corrections and the wonderful things that we're doing as an organization. Personally, I can't take credit for what my team has been able to accomplish for the last year. It's been an honor and a privilege to be a part of it. I work with some wonderful people who, most importantly, just care about the people who are in our stewardship, who are in the care of corrections. And that's been the most powerful thing, is just when you get the people in the positions they have and they care about helping other individuals, great things happen. And so to me, it's just an opportunity I may be the one being recognized today, but really it's those that I work with and what they've accomplished and what we've accomplished together.
Do solemnly swear. That I will support, obey, and defend. The Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of Utah. And that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Congratulations.
My name is Arlene Loera. I'm a licensed clinical therapist for the Department of Corrections. What we do here at the Department of Corrections regarding treatment is really important, because we're getting them the adequate treatment they need while they're incarcerated or on probation or on parole, so they can re-enter society with better skill set. The goal is to drop their recidivism risk, so drop down their risk of re-offending. Probation officers do risk assessments. In that, there's 8 criminogenic factors, so 8 things that predict what someone's level of recidivism is. And so we target those things in an effort to keep them from coming back. So an example is antisocial cognition, so the way someone thinks. If they have a pro-criminal attitude, we would target that through a cognitive behavioral course here at the Provo Treatment Resource Center, because most of our guys and women are gonna come back to our society. So 95% of the people who are incarcerated come back to society, which they'll be our neighbors, they'll be people that we work with. Initially, I wanted to work with kids as a therapist, and I did an internship with the Department of Corrections in the sex offense treatment program, just as like an opportunity to try something different. And I ended up really, really loving what I did. The criminal justice population is very cool to work with, and they're a vulnerable population where they don't get tons of resources, or a lot of people don't want to work with them, but it is very important that we do. What gets me up to do this every day is that we are creating an impact on the people that we serve, as well as society as a whole. It is difficult at times, but also very rewarding when we're able to see those people re-enter society, go back to their families, and not come back through our doors. That's the ultimate goal.
A lot of people don't understand corrections and what exactly corrections is. We don't just lock people up and throw away the key. We are an integral part of rehabilitating each person who's incarcerated and preparing them to re-enter society, because 90% of this population will go back out into the community, and we want to make sure they have the correct tools to be able to be successful when they leave. And this opens up high school students' eyes or college students' eyes on a possible career opportunity that maybe they never considered before, and then they see what we do and maybe it'll inspire them to want to do the same thing. Public awareness is an opportunity for school-age kids, high school and college, to come out to the Utah State Prison to be introduced into what it's like to work in corrections. And what our population experiences while they're incarcerated. So we usually have a demonstration with our CERT team. We have K-9 officers come out and our CERT officers come out, explain what their job is, what their function is in the Utah State Prison. And then we'll take them inside and they will get a chance to interact with an inmate panel. Right now we have a great panel of female offenders that tells their story, what led them to being incarcerated, what they're doing with their incarceration, and what they plan on doing when they get out of prison. And then we take them to the Emerald facility and give them a tour. They're able to go into a cell, see what the environment is like that they live in, and then be able to kind of experience what it's like for a correctional officer to work a shift in that kind of facility.
Our jobs are physically and mentally demanding, and we need to address both of those aspects.
We recognize that giving people that time and opportunity is going to pay dividends down the road, and not only their productivity, but their own well-being.
An hour 3 times a week or 45 minutes 4 times a week to be able to get their workout in, sworn and civilian staff.
This is going to be offered to everybody. This is going to be for all staff.
The Department of Corrections has put a lot of money into the facilities and workout equipment at each facility. However, not all staff can make it. We have staff throughout the whole entire state. And so you can go to a gym of your choice.
But we have gyms all throughout both prisons. We have gyms at various region offices for APMP. And these are all going to be open to staff to utilize along with this policy.
I'm sure some of you have gyms that are close by your house that you have memberships to. That would also fall into play as well. We're highly encouraging supervisors to make this happen for their employees.
We have healthy staff that are not calling off sick. They're showing up to work, and so if we can do whatever we can to provide opportunities for them to be healthier, we're going to do that.
Provide an environment where people feel safe. Expanding the parameters of this policy is vital to that goal.
Take advantage of this opportunity. There aren't many departments that allow this. We want to make sure we're taking care of our employees and put them in the best position to have a long, fulfilling life.
It's one thing to hear an officer or a therapist or someone telling you, man, you could do good, you could do better, right? But they don't ever get to see someone who's actually been incarcerated in prison. They don't ever get to see someone who's actually been through the same situation that they've been and been out and and able to be successful in life, right? So I think it's important for me and anybody really, we want to see it. We want to see it. So I felt like I wanted to get in here to show them like, hey, look, man, you don't got to be going to prison for your whole life. You don't got to keep coming in and out. It's up to you to make that choice. And I'm a testament to that. The odds are stacked against you. You think society buys into me now? Society still counts me out. Even though I've accomplished what I've accomplished, they still count me out. Am I gonna roll over on that? I don't know how to roll over. I'm gonna equip myself with the necessary tools needed. So start creating that person now, bro. Start creating that high vibrational human being, that high vibrational man, right? You gotta start creating him. You gotta start envisioning him. I promise you, even right now, the fact that I'm standing up here right now and talking to you guys, you know where that started? Where did it start, Pati? Right here, Togo. It started right here in my mind. I was like a year out. I said, you know what, man? I would love to go back and motivate the boys in there, man. To motivate them. And here I stand. I think the first step is, like I said, staying on a positive vibe, right? Constantly looking and putting yourself out there, trying to put yourself in positive situations, and in situations that are gonna benefit you. I think that's important, to constantly be on that frequency. And like I said, one of the guys, negativity should never be an option. You gotta constantly be the best version of yourself. That's what I want these guys to know, that you can become the best version of yourself. And that best version of yourself is who we need to be for our wives, for our kids, for our loved ones. The behaviors you do right now, you know how you know those behaviors? Because you taught yourself those behaviors. You constantly thought about them. You constantly gave it your energy. So how do you unlearn those behaviors? You apply that same method. It's not rocket science. If you care enough about your reality, if you care enough about whether or not you come back to this place, don't get me wrong, I know how it is. I know how it is over there, right? I lived there. I lived in there. I was there for 7 years. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean, you know, I still attend HUT, but I also wasn't putting myself in negativity, because there's a lot of negativity, right? I did my best to keep myself around that. And so say you get back to the section, right? Somebody's like, hey, let's go do this, whatever, right? Something negative. You know what you do? You say, nah, I'm good, right? Then you push on. It may seem small, but that's a beginning. Because the next time it comes around, it's gonna be a little bit more easier. A lot of times, bro, this is a paradigm we created ourselves. We created this. Just like I created myself, we created this, right? You gotta change your paradigm, and you gotta stick to it, no matter what. It's my mission because I did it. I accomplished it. And if I was just to covet that information and just to hold on to that information and keep it for myself, it wouldn't benefit the world at all anymore. So I think it's important for me to get in here and to get around these guys and to show them and try to help teach them the ways that I used to become better. Well, I've been in and out of juvenile hall and jail my whole life. I've been incarcerated my whole life. And when I was in prison and I figured out the codes that I needed to better myself and to become better, I think that's why I'm here.
So Ricky, about 7 years ago, I recognized a very common experience that both staff and the incarcerated folks experience quite a bit in prison, and that is they rarely get to see the success. They rarely get to see the fruits of the labor. The staff ultimately get to see the person come back or the person not leave, and rarely gets to see the person that left and never came back. And
Absolutely.
That's a similar experience that the incarcerated folks go through, is they get to see the person come back and they're getting influenced by the person that was unable to make it. About 2 years ago, the wardens and deputy wardens wanted to be able to recognize people for impacting others, and we've created a coin, and I wanted to present that to you.
Thank you so much.
You've given us both a different experience, both staff and the incarcerated folks a different experience, so thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you guys, fellas. I appreciate y'all, man. My story is not that far from what you're experiencing right now. Yet here I stand. Through all the violence, all the drug abuse, through all the countless sleepless nights in the darkness of some rundown trap house, here I stand. Pain, and a whole lot of lost time. But it's also a story of triumph. So thank you guys. With a show of hands, how many of us have a story? You guys got a story? Now, how many of our stories have been all wins and no losses? None of us, right? Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Ricky Zazueta, 199368. A lot of the homies in here know me as Smacks. I was incarcerated in the Utah State Prison from 2012 to 2019. But have been in and out of juvenile hall to jail my whole life. In October of 2011, I lost the closest person to me, my little brother. And for the next 9 months leading up to my incarceration, fueled by my addiction, driven by the hurt and pain that I felt from the loss of my little brother, I terrorized the city of Salt Lake, finally earning myself an aggravated robbery charge with a weapon that carried a 30-year sentence. So as you can see, my story's not that different from yours. My story is not that different from what you're experiencing right now. How many of us know that it's possible to have a great story after prison? I like that. How many of us know that we can not only change the direction of our lives, but the lives of the ones who deserve it most? The ones on the outside waiting on us. You want to know how I did it? You know when it starts? It starts right now. Not when you get released. Not when you finally decide to stop doing what you've been doing your whole life, getting nowhere. Right now. You want to know how I know this to be true? Because I was you. And my transformation started right here, behind these walls. Let me show you guys. Can we get the lights? name is Ricky Zazueta. Currently standing in front of the Utah State Prison, a place where I spent actually 7 years. I spent 7 years in this place. I actually got my life together and got everything figured out. I have the opportunity to go in there and kind of relive some things. Damn. This building right here, dude, after 7 years, this is the building. This is called the Glass House. This is the building you're working towards. It took me 7 years to walk through that house. 7 straight years. My family struggled because I was in there. You don't gotta struggle. This room right here, in this room right here, this room right here, I raised my kids through this room. My daughter right now, who's actually recording me right now, actually sat in this visiting room with me, wept for me, cried for me. I raised my kids in this room. It's crazy. This is cell 7. This is a cell that I spent numerous years in the cell right here. You guys want to know how prison looks? You living in a bathroom. This was my bunk. At one point, I was in here with my little brother, and he lived up here. I used to look out this window all the time, try to see how the weather looked. You're living in a 6x8 cell. You're pretty much living in a bathroom. This is the block that they send you to. I lived on this block for years. This is probably the oldest part of the prison. Showers right here to the right.
Were they to the point of strip down, shampoo up, and say, come get me? No?
This is the oldest part of the prison right here. Right here, Oos. This was my house right here.
Oh, what?
This was my house right here. This is another cell that I spent years in this cell. This was a single man dorm. I lived in this cell by myself for several years before I got moved in 2000. I got moved in 2017 to the Conquest program. This right here in this little area, I want you to picture this. We got chairs right here, all the boys, all the poly boys, we sitting right here. We get these right here, make a bunch of saimingi. We'll make some spreads, we'll eat up, and we'll eat and enjoy the time that we have in here, man. We try to do our best. I'm gonna tell you right now, man, prison is not where you wanna be. I struggled my way through this place, and I made it out. These are the ones that are suffering. You see that? This is somebody's child, somebody's woman, somebody's child that they're missing. That's what this place does. This right here is the yard. This right here where all the action would happen. If it was going down, it was going down right in this area. This grass right here, the somewhat of what you see is grass. I actually laid that sod. I was actually here long enough to lay it. And this right here, this pull-up bar, this is where we would come and get our money. And try to stay fit and try to keep our mind off of the time we were doing. Dude, I want to stay in this area so my wife could visit me and my kids, you know what I mean? So they never thought of counting me out. Hey, come on. Let's go get a quick session. Don't play with me, dog. Let's go get a quick session. What's up, host? Let's go real quick. Let's go get a quick session. Come on. Come on. Let's go get a quick session. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I spent a lot of years in these walls. A lot of guys, they might be furthering their criminal behavior, which a lot of us do. We have no choice but to try to survive in this place. You know, I had to do what I had to do to survive, but I also did what I had to do to get my education. I actually got a high school diploma while I was sitting in prison. I actually went to college and got my college degree in the culinary arts, a degree in which I'm utilizing right now to this day as a private chef at a private rehab center. So if you guys are struggling right now, and you keep coming back and you're just adding on to the recidivism rate, you can make it. Sobriety looks good. You stay away from the drugs, you stay away from that lifestyle, it's gonna organically happen on its own. Unfortunately, I had to spend 7 years in this place in order to really learn myself and really to dig in deep and do what I needed to do to figure myself out, to learn my addiction, to learn the reasons why that brought me to this place that took me away from my kids. I've raised my kids in these walls. My kids suffered, my wife suffered, and I told myself every single day that I'm gonna do what I need to do so I don't repeat the mistakes that brought me here in the first place. I've been thugging and bugging and living gang life and living that thug life my whole life. Once I stepped foot in this prison, it was different for me.
Message to my dad. I am so happy that I came today to experience this with you. Being on the outside, not really knowing what you experienced being in prison was already a heavy rock on my heart, as well as our family's hearts. And all I could do was imagine what you've been through and what you had to deal with. But meeting the people today who have come to support each other and seeing everything that you guys had to endure really put a different perspective in my heart. And it hurts it, but as well as makes me super appreciative to what you have been through to make the man that you are today. And I am very lucky to have you as my dad and to share your story and inspire others, because you inspire us every single day. And I love you so much. And our family loves you, and we appreciate your hard work. And keep doing you. I love you.
When you're in prison right here, I spent all those years back there. This is the place I was working towards to get. This is the place where you leave this place and put it behind you.
All right, fellas. Before we leave here today, I want to ask you guys a question. How many of you guys are ready to change? Now, how many of us have tried numerous times to change, only to fail miserably, time and time again? I know I have. You know why that is? Because you don't need a change. I don't know about you, but if you ask me, change has a negative connotation to it. The word change has a negative undertone to it. Because I don't know how to be anything other than who I am. You need a change. You ain't never gonna change. When are you ever gonna change? How many of us heard that? I've heard it hundreds of times. We don't need a change. We need to grow mentally, physically, and spiritually. We gotta allow ourselves to organically become that man we're supposed to be. The fathers that we're supposed to be. The husbands we're supposed to be.
You want to know when it starts? Right now. This is when it starts, right now. With a show of hands, how many of us are ready for growth? Let me hear you say it. Repeat after me. I. Come on. I will grow. Again. I will grow. It starts now. It starts now. It starts right here, right now. You guys want to know how I did it? You guys want to know how I did it? How I created this man you're looking at? Every night in my cell, while everyone else was asleep, I'd lay in my bunk and I'd close my eyes and I'd envision the man that I wanted to be. I'd envision the father that I wanted to be to my kids, the husband that I wanted to be to my wife. I want you guys to do something for me. Can you guys do something for me? Close your guys' eyes. Now I want you to envision that man you want to be. Envision the way he talks. Envision the way he walks. Feel his strength. Feel the confidence he has from knowing he is the protector, he is the provider, and he is the emotional support for his family. Can you guys see him? Can you guys feel him? You can open your eyes now. Before I close, y'all, I want to leave you guys with this. You cannot be what you cannot see. Y'all feel that? You cannot be what you cannot see. If you can't envision that man you want to be, if you can't envision that father you want to be, that brother you want to be, that son you want to be, that husband you want to be, if you can't envision that person, there's a good chance you won't even be able to create that man. I want you guys to look at me. You guys looking at me? You guys see me up here? The way I walk? The way I talk? Can you guys see my strength? Can you guys see my confidence? You know where it started? I envisioned it first. Sitting in my cell. I created this person. I envisioned him, and then I created him. You guys got to start creating, fellas. You guys got to start creating and envisioning the man you want to be now. Thank you, my boys. Thank you, fellas. Appreciate y'all, man. I left some time, right? Because I think it's important for us to have some dialogue. Let's turn this down a little bit. I left this time open for some questions. You guys got questions? That's how we learn. Ask me anything. You guys got any questions? Bate.
I don't have questions. When they put up your flag, I told my little brother and my little cousins.
My bad, Uso, I'm listening to you.
I was sleeping, I heard them talking about Ricky. And I was like, who you said? When they said your name, I was like, oh yeah. And they gave us the flyers, and I told my little brother getting ready to go home. I was like, I remember the day that this guy told me that he's gonna switch shit up. And I was with him, you know what I mean, before he did his. My little brother said, well, what'd he do? I said, shit. from what it sounds like, you know what I mean, he found something he's passionate about. You know what I mean? Like you said, we do what we gotta do. You know what I mean?
Everybody's passion is different, man. You guys, we all have passion. We all have drive. It's all subjective. I love you, Pate. I love you a lot, Toko. I think about you guys all the time. Real talk. I'm here right now because I'm trying to make a difference for you guys. I'm trying to show you guys. Look at me. Look at me. I've been through what you've been through. I did what you did. But there comes a point in time in our life where the time that we're doing, the hurt and the pain and the destruction that we're causing in the wake of what we're leaving behind us, it's our moms, it's our kids, it's our wives. They're the ones suffering. And I do remember that. I remember we were in Salt Lake County together. You caught your case, I caught mine. Once I was in there, I knew that I needed to do something different, man. And that's what you guys got to do. You guys got to figure out, keep your family and your loved ones at the forefront of your mind. That's how I did it. My wife, my kids, they were at the forefront of my mind, Oos. I knew one day I was going to walk out these prison gates. Am I going to walk out the same person and worse? I come right back. No. I'm going to better myself. I'm going to do what I got to do. I'm going to fully utilize what the prison has to offer me. Education, get your education. The state can take your time. They can't take your education. That's key. I got out. You know when I got out? You know when I started working? I had a job the week I got out. I got education. That's what started me and kept me moving and kept me busy. A lot of guys in here in prison, you guys are staying busy. That's super important. That's what you want to do. You don't want idle time. Work out, do some programming, become better. Let's get another question.
You say in your flyer, you say the odds are stacked against us. I mean, it is. It's stacked against all of us, each and every one of us. Commend you and respect you for being able to stand up against those odds and push forward. A lot of us, it's not that we can't do it, it's just the odds are too heavy. The odds are stacked against us hard.
Oh, brother. The odds are stacked against you. You think society buys into me now? Society still counts me out. Even though I've accomplished what I've accomplished, they still count me out. Am I going to roll over on that? I don't know how to roll over. I'm going to equip myself with the necessary tools needed. So start creating that person now, bro. Start creating that high vibrational human being, that high vibrational man, right? You got to start creating him. You got to start envisioning him. I promise you, even right now, the fact that I'm standing up here right now and talking to you guys, you know where that started? Where did it start, Pate? Right here, Toko. It started right here in my mind. I was like a year out. I said, you know what, man? I would love to go back and motivate the boys in there, man. To motivate them. And here I stand. I hope that answers you. I hope that gives you a little response to your comment, bro. Appreciate you, man. Let's get another question.
So, you got out and because you know life happens, you know, and shit starts piling up. What was one of the tools that you utilized, like one of your coping mechanisms that you used?
If there's one thing that I learned in prison, bro, I learned that I'm resilient. I learned life can throw curveballs at me and I won't fold. I lost a job in prison. Did I say, oh man, I'm gonna go and nah, I kept pushing. Out there in the street, when I got out, life throws curveballs at me. Negativity should never be an option. That's one. A lot of times we don't even realize, man, that over that hump is just around the corner, but you can't see it because it's a corner. You feel me? You looking over there, you don't see it.
But if you would have just held on just a little bit longer, you would have hit that corner and be like, oh, okay, I could do this. My life ain't been easy, bro. I'm a certified chef, dog. I've been a certified chef for 2 years, almost 2 years now, at this place called Renaissance Ranch. I'm also a certified personal trainer. I train men. I train 30 men every 2 months. And this is what I do to them. This right here, Oos. This is what I do. I teach them about the basics of fitness, and then I teach them how to utilize their already God-given talents and just exemplify them. So what I learned and what I did, Oos, was to never fold. I'm never gonna go pick up a gun and go try to rob somebody. I'm never gonna go pick up a dope sack and try to make a quick buck, because it doesn't work that way. I kept my nose to the grinder, and I put one foot in front of the other, Oos, and kept pushing. And I stayed on a positive frequency. Do you guys know what positive frequency is? I stayed on a positive mindset. Everything I was doing was positive, so I attracted positivity into my life, right? The first job I got out, I was making like 15 bucks an hour, dog. 15 bucks an hour. I knew that wasn't my worth. Don't get me wrong, 15 bucks an hour is cool compared to getting paid $1.25 in prison. You know what I mean? But I knew that wasn't what I was worth. But did I quit and like, oh man, I'm out of here? 15 bucks an hour? No, I stayed there. Stayed positive, but I also stayed moving and stayed looking, stayed putting my hands out there and reaching. For someone who's been out of prison for 4 years, fresh out of prison, that's unheard of. You know why I got it like that? I thought of it first. I promise you, I thought of it first. So if you guys take anything from what I just told you guys today, man, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, if you think envisioning is not a real thing, if you think manifesting things into your life that you're worth is not a real thing, I'm here to tell you that it is. And I know it's hard, man. I know it's hard to be positive and try to be on that positive frequency while you're in here. You know what I mean? You might feel like there's nothing to be positive about. There's nothing to work towards. There is. And for a lot of us, what makes it easy is your family. That makes anything easy to me. Think of my kids, think of my mom. You know what I told my mommy when I got out? She came and picked me up. I said, Mommy, gave her a kiss. I said, I love you, Mommy. She was crying, dog. I said, Mommy, I promise you, you'll never have to worry about me again. You'll never have to worry about where I'm at, whether I'm with my kids, whether I'm out there killing somebody or getting killed. Never. Every year on my birthday, my mom calls me. She says, son, you keep your promise every year, and I love you so much. That keeps me going, y'all. Let's get some more questions. We got some more time.
So I understand you say all these things, you know what I mean, but we're gonna go back, you know what I mean? Like, you understand what it's like?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? We're here, you build on this side, you know what I mean? We're gonna go back, we gotta, you know what I mean? You know what goes on back.
Absolutely.
The stress, the anxiety, especially for, somebody that's like me, my friend here, you know. So what can you do? Yeah, we're gonna go, like I said, we're gonna go back and answer a lot of what my question is, you know. We're gonna forget about all this, you know what I mean? Like 15, 20 minutes into the section, you know what I mean? We're gonna be back into our, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Back into the movement.
How do you continue to just strive to be on that note, you know what I mean? Be on the same tip that you're on, you know what I mean?
The behaviors you do right now, you know how you know those behaviors? Because you taught yourself those behaviors. You constantly thought about them. You constantly gave it your energy. So how do you unlearn those behaviors? You apply that same method. It's not rocket science. If you care enough about your reality, if you care enough about whether or not you come back to this place, don't get me wrong, I know how it is. I know how it is over there, right? I lived there. I lived in there. I was there for 7 years. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean, you know, I still attend HUT.
but I also wasn't putting myself in negativity, because there's a lot of negativity, right? I did my best to keep myself from around that. And so say you get back to the section, right? Somebody's like, hey, let's go do this, whatever, right? Something negative. You know what you do? You say, nah, I'm good, right? Then you push on. It may seem small, but that's a beginning. Because the next time it comes around, it's going to be a little bit more easier. A lot of times, bro, this is a paradigm we created ourselves. We created this. Just like I created myself, we created this, right? You got to change your paradigm, and you got to stick to it, no matter what. Ain't nobody going to kill you for trying to do good. Am I right? There's your answer. You know what I mean? How much time we got, Brian? We good? Okay. Any more questions? Okay. I hope you guys learned something, man, today. I hope I planted a seed. And remember, you guys, when you guys are back in your cell, envision him. What did? Think of that guy, dude. That good, loving guy, right?
And when you came to the person that had the freedom, how do you go? Like, how do you, like, forgive them and forgive, like, the time they had you? What would you have to say to them to get out?
Say it again, bro. Sorry.
So with the persons that had your freedom, like the board, right?
When the victims, is that what you're talking about?
No, the board.
Oh, the board.
Had your freedom. How do you go with them and know what to say to get out?
I'm going to tell you what I did when I went to the board, bro. I went to the board the first time, and when I went and I told them, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I think it was like 6 months after I was incarcerated. And they said, come back in 5 years. Come talk in 5 years, we'll talk about it. It's like, what? So there's no real answer what to tell them. You just got to speak from your heart, bro. But I knew when I came back in front of them, I wasn't going to have an empty folder. You guys know how many write-ups I got in 7 years? Not one. How many dirty UAs I got? Not one. I've been getting high my whole life, dog. Why the f would I come sit in prison and continue to be on some dumb shit? Right? So build yourself a resume, bro. Build yourself a resume. You like I said, we already got the odds stacked against us. Don't go up in front of them and be like, hey, you gonna let me out? And you ain't did nothing. You think they're gonna let you out? Probably not. And it sucks that, you know, our lives and our time is left up to 4 to 5 people and they have the decision, right? That's a sucky thing, and I know how it feels. But we already established that. No need to get all hurt about it. We already established it. That's the reality that we're in. Now let's come at them. The next time I came at them with a high school diploma, a culinary arts degree, a substance abuse treatment program, 0 write-ups. I did all the life skills. I had a job the whole time I was in prison. So they knew they wanted to let me go. It wasn't the day that I wanted, but they let me go.
So Ricky, about 7 years ago, I recognized a very common experience that both staff and the incarcerated folks experience quite a bit in prison, and that is they rarely get to see the success. They rarely get to see the fruits of the labor. The staff ultimately get to see the person come back or the person not leave, and rarely gets to see the person that left and never came back. And
Absolutely.
That's a similar experience that the incarcerated folks go through, is they get to see the person come back and they're getting influenced by the person that was unable to make it. About 2 years ago, the wardens and deputy wardens wanted to be able to recognize people for impacting others, and we've created a coin, and I wanted to present that to you.
Thank you so much.
You've given us both a different experience, both staff and the incarcerated folks a different experience, so thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you guys, fellas. I appreciate y'all, man.
Graduates, please put your hand on your tassel. and move your tassel from your right side to the left.
To all my graduates here with me today on the road to recovery, let us press on courageously and heed neither the reviling of so-called friends around you nor the criticism of enemies within you. We will conquer this day by day as we continue to rid our minds of all selfish motives and our hearts of desires impure. Oh, yeah, we will stumble. We will fall. Get up, keep moving forward, and rise higher with each step. We will turn what was meant to be our downfall into opportunity. We will let failure show us the way by showing us what isn't the way. For the loss of today will only add to the gain of tomorrow for him whose mind is set upon the conquest of himself.
Class D40, please rise. Raise your right hand.
We've all come from different backgrounds. We think and view the world in varying ways. But we've all come together for a purpose, a desire to lift and help others. We are ready to protect, to serve, to improve not only our lives, but the lives of those around us. In closing, Winston Churchill said, "It takes courage to stand up and speak. It also takes courage to sit down and listen." Every day, may we have courage, integrity, and be unafraid of evil.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear
That I will support, obey, and defend.
that I will support, obey, and defend
The Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of Utah.
and the Constitution of the State of Utah.
And that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
And that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
So the VR training is a learning experience that recreates real-life settings. What this does is it gives them the on-the-job training before they get into our shops, right? So this gives another perspective of what they're going to be doing and the things they're going to be handling. They all volunteer to do it. They want experience of the training, and they all do plant safety first.
UCI is the first in the nation as a correctional industries to be able to have our inmate participants use the transfer headsets and utilize them in the most effective way possible. We've provided the transfer headsets to both our male and female participants, so all UCI shops currently have access to the headsets. We're able to download whatever training it is that we need to the headsets, which allows us to not have to use any Wi-Fi and to be a complete secure facility. The great thing about this system is that it actually tracks the inmates' training for us, and so we're able to see who's completed what, when they've completed it, and be able to provide feedback of what they're missing.
Most of our offenders love the opportunity, mostly because it's something that's outside the norm, and it gives them opportunity to do something that they probably wouldn't any other time see, especially where they're hearing about these from their friends and family. And so the opportunity to have up here to do that and then be able to have something else to relate to family back home with has been really beneficial as well.
I was actually the first one, the inmate that they practiced on, be able to use it. So I jumped right on it and took off with it. I didn't want to get off of it. It's pretty cool. I mean, we hear about it, and it's new technology that we haven't been privileged to see because we're incarcerated, but to be able to strap that on and get the training and just to actually play with it that's a privilege, honestly.
I had a few offenders not want to try it at all, and I think a lot of that is based in fear. Some of them have never even had an Xbox, a Super Nintendo for that matter. And so when it's their turn and I approach them and say, hey, it's your turn, I have had some offenders go, yeah, I'll pass. And I encourage them to give it a shot. Even ones that they were a hard no, I said, well, we're going to have you just do the introduction, and then after the introduction, you can, let me know if that's something you don't want to do again. And actually, out of all of the offenders up here, I've only had one that said, nope, again, this is not for me. He tried it and found out this is not his world.
This is technology that's being used in the streets. And so as UCI advances their training programs, we want to stay consistent to that. So integrating this into our program will definitely give them a benefit out in the streets if they ever had to go out there and use something similar.
Technology is where the world's going, and being interested in it and interactive in it is a real honor, I believe.
I would say there's a lot of positive feedback from the offenders when they're done with these programs. A lot of them would like to continue. Even if the offender doesn't get benefit from the actual program itself, I have noticed a difference in confidence. They do talk about it with the other offenders who have tried it. There's a lot of experience in that way as well. So even if it's just not beneficial maybe in the program aspect, it is beneficial for the individual, I feel.
We've also made a lot of contact with other correctional industries who have wanted to see how we were able to implement this so that they can follow our footsteps.
We owe it to these incarcerated individuals to help them on their journey back, and this is one of the ways that we do it is through education.
We're actually all coming together to share out our ideas and learn from each other.
We've already had some really positive feedback that they've had opportunities to talk to people and get ideas about how to make their programs better and how to better serve the students who are incarcerated that we serve. I think that's a really positive outcome.
Administrators, leaders of programs, teachers, all coming together to learn together, share together. And it's just something we're going to keep doing because we realize there's a need for more education for incarcerated individuals, and there's a need for better education for incarcerated individuals.
We could not do it without all of you coming and supporting us and serving in the prison with us, and so thank you for doing that. We so much appreciate your support and being here today.
I'm Lauren Freston. I work at Fred House Academy as the administrative secretary. I was a control point operator up in Antelope Section Control. I got called one day by my captain, Captain Nichols. I love her. But I got called in there terrified because I had never talked with her before, and they asked me to come down here and learn the system, kind of get a basic knowledge of it. So the more I adventured around here and learned about the system, I was like, oh, this is so complex and so daunting compared to what we had over in Draper. So I thought it would be beneficial to create some sort of PowerPoint if I was going to be teaching people about this. So I made the PowerPoint, had the pictures and everything on it, talked with Lieutenant Jarman. He saw it and was like, let's make a lesson plan. Let's get this sent to training just so that it's official and we can get this going for everyone. Because not only CPOs would need it, but certified staff as well down on the units. So it kind of just came to be that way.
Freston's really intelligent and ambitious, and she takes on all these additional duties and extra roles that nobody even asked her to do. She just sees a need and fulfills it. You feel a lot safer when there's the control point person is really paying attention and watching over you. And during that prison move, things were less safe than usual, so it was nice having her here watching over us.
So as soon as CML released their manuals, she started studying them on her own, making sure she knew how to run them. She learned that material incredibly fast and started training other staff. So she actually put together a PowerPoint on how to run it and send it through training to have it approved, and we still use that PowerPoint today. She also helped CML test the systems and really became so good at it that she was teaching CML how to run their own systems.
As if I were somebody who is brand new here, used to the turn switches in Draper, to this whole computer screen with all the colors and the noises and everything about it, I would want to have somebody who took the time and the energy to create something that I could understand and digest, so that when I did get down on the units and we did have offenders being housed here, I knew what I was doing and I was keeping the staff and our inmates safe. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting me and believed in me. Without them, I probably wouldn't have been here. And watching everybody, and I mean literally everyone, being so dedicated and so willing to do whatever task is asked of them or they see needs to be done is really inspiring. And I aspire to be like everyone here. And I hopefully will have the opportunity to support someone else the way that I've been supported by my chain and others within the ranks.
Stuff like that. mean, it's easy to drink. But he didn't like to go.
Coming up next, breaking the glass ceiling, meet the first female warden. GTU returns after the short break. Don't go anywhere.
Stand by, everybody, in 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back to GTU. She's making history here in our state, the first female warden with the Utah Department of Corrections in the modern prison system era.
I started as a correctional officer and kind of seeing the path of case management, and went in, I became a case manager.
Welcome to Corrections Day in the Rotunda at the Utah State Capitol. These are really, really important events for us to do. The legislature's in session, which means what? They're talking about budget, they're talking about policy changes, they're talking about the future of our department. And so coming here with the Senate and with the House while they're in session, so they have a chance to come around and meet the team, meet the leadership, meet the different divisions and understand what we do is so important. The nice thing is we can talk about things that are our priorities. So not just budget, budget's critical, but also other things impact us a lot. Who do we incarcerate? Why do we incarcerate them? How do we supervise them? How quickly can we get them into treatment? All those kinds of things. County level, state level, prosecutors, defense attorneys, the AG's office, victims advocates, they're all here. And so it's the perfect time for us to be able to communicate back to them, not only what do we need resource-wise, but what do we need policy-wise to also be able to do a good job. And so far it's looking like a pretty good year. We have good people doing a good job, and the confidence in corrections is going up in a really good way. And so people are actually really supporting what we need. And to be in a place like that where we are kind of the go-to answer now on policy is a great thing. So welcome to Corrections Day in the Rotunda at the Utah State Capitol. These are really, really important events for us to do. The legislature's in session, which means what? They're talking about budget, they're talking about policy changes, they're talking about the future of our department. And so coming here with the Senate and with the House while they're in session, so they have a chance to come around and meet the team, meet the leadership, meet the different divisions and understand what we do is so important, because it's really hard to support somebody that you have no idea what they do. So hosting a day like this actually allows us to get tons of information out about the department, about what each of the divisions does within the department, about career opportunities, about what we're doing to try and help inmates as they re-enter back into society, about what the staff need. And so it is, if they had a question or if they wanted to meet someone specifically, they can drop right down here into the Rotunda and just do it in a few minutes. And it is unbelievably impactful because, again, people will not take the time to support and go out of their way to try and find resources for people that they've never met or they have no idea what they do. So being here is probably one of the most effective ways that we can get the message out about what we need, what our staff need, what we need to be successful and to get that support built up. So by the time the session ends, we can get the resources we need to help our department to really succeed. So we've got another advantage of being actually here at the Capitol. Everything happens here. At this time of year, all of the state leadership comes in from all over the state. So if you have a representative, say from Blanding, they're here. So normally if we wanted to have these kind of conversations, we would have to go one-on-one, travel all over the state, hope we could catch people, because they're part-time, legislators are part-time. So when we go out to their area, they're at work, they're with family, they're doing all those kinds of things. But right now, right here, all of them, the 75 from the House, the 29 from the Senate, the governor's office, all of the budget people, all of the people that work on anything related to our job are in one place at one time. And so bringing our people in and having them be able to interact like that, it's just a little bit of magic, and it's crazy efficient. And we're trying to reduce transports anyway, right? So this is the perfect way to start. But one of the other really big advantages to being here and participating in everything that's going on in the legislative session is because not only do we have legislators that come to see us, but we have people that work on policy at all levels. Drafting attorneys, people from the counties, people from different associations, they're all here. And it's nice to do that, especially on a day like today, because, for instance, the Commission on Criminal and Juvenile Justice met today, which meant you had law enforcement and criminal justice leaders from all over the place, from all kinds of disciplines, all here. So the nice thing is we can talk about things that are our priorities. So not just budget, budget's critical, but also other things impact us a lot. Who do we incarcerate? Why do we incarcerate them? How do we supervise them? How quickly can we get them into treatment? All those kinds of things. So this year we've been very fortunate. Our two budget chairs, Senator Owens and Representative Burton, are actually also bill sponsors for us. So for instance, Representative Burton ran a bill to help us to keep cell phones, contraband out of our facilities. Senator Owens is running our big omnibus bill, which does all kinds of stuff for us. Talks about 72-hour holds, talks about private use of vehicles, state vehicles, talks about supervision models, all kinds of stuff like that. And so you get to cover the budget, you get to talk about policy, you get to meet with all of the people that are working on that policy, county level, state level, prosecutors, defense attorneys, the AG's office, victims advocates, they're all here. And so it's the perfect time for us to be able to communicate back to them, not only what do we need resource-wise, but what do we need policy-wise to also be able to do a good job. And so far it's looking like a pretty good year. We have good people doing a good job, and the confidence in corrections is going up in a really good way. And so people are actually really supporting what we need. And quite frankly, we've had a couple of them actually that had questions they couldn't answer, so actually came to our data people to be able to get the answers because they trust corrections will figure it out. And to be in a place like that where we are kind of the go-to answer now on policy is a great thing.
Hi, my name is Brett Kendrick. I've been with UCI Sewing for 17 years. I'm in charge of our charity backpacks, and we made 500 of these backpacks this time. We've been tasked with doing it over the years, and we have two different designs. We've prototyped them, we made them. We try to do it at least once a year. We make these backpacks for the Children's Justice Center, which is a good organization because they distribute them to a lot of other organizations and agencies around the world and locally. We're sending them to the Utah Food Bank this year. We're going to fill them up with food and give them to needy families, needy children. And it's a good charity. Everybody puts their heart into it. Everybody's always enthusiastic. People give both their time, their effort, and we hope that we could keep doing it.
Ask yourself how you spend your time and why. Because time, and I can tell you this by managing their life and schedule, time is gold, right? You'll have a certain amount of time that you're on the clock, in the seat, doing what you've been asked to do. And what do you spend your time doing?
You know, this is a learning opportunity for us. It's important to staff. The development is extremely important. Having a voice and having a different perspective, I think, sometimes, and actually more frequent than not, we get used to things as they are, and we accept them for what they are. But getting a fresh perspective in place when it comes to any of these topics specifically, such as leadership, such as wellness, safety, and development, I think it just makes us better. Short-term goal initially was just to get a few individuals in place that are just, I think, that would be impactful to us, to staff, our administration, our department as a whole. But long-term goal is something that I think is even more important. We want to start utilizing the voices of the staff that are on the blocks, that are in the halfway houses, that are working the streets, and we want to essentially have them recommend some of the speakers in place that they may feel like, you know, bring value maybe to them specifically or could enhance this experience.
I'm Eric Barker. I work with Adult Probation and Parole as a Deputy Region Chief. I oversee our release reentry team. I started at Northern Utah Community Correction Centers back in 2000. I was pretty young at the time. I had 2 young kids. Really my intent was to go to work for the FBI, and this was going to be a stepping stone for me. So I put in for this department, and I've been here ever since. You know, in my current role, I feel that we make a dramatic impact in regards to trying to help people be more successful when they release from incarceration. I think, you know, for the years as an agent or a supervisor over agents, we are managing those difficult people that maybe didn't have any resources. They didn't have any of the connections that we've tried to offer now. I think we've tried to make an atmosphere where those things are accessible for inmates that are leaving the prison system. And they can better themselves, that they really have some connection, whether it's through a nonprofit, through a religious organization, through some type of mentor program. But they have somebody to turn to with lived experience that can help them navigate, I guess, the system or being on parole with our department.
Let's see, I've worked with Eric for probably close to 10 years, if you count the parole time and the time with reentry. It's an adventure. So Eric makes it very fun. He has a sense of humor, he brings autonomy, he allows us to be creative in how we run reentry. We try to find ways to help people get on their feet when they leave to the community.
Coming out and being part of reentry has really opened my eyes to see all the moving pieces in regards to us as a department, whether that's reentry or anything else. And we do have a lot of things that if a decision's made in prison operations or a decision's made with adult probation and parole or any other of our divisions, that creates a domino effect for other areas. And I think sometimes we don't see that perspective because we're kind of in our own little shells, in our own specific division. So this position working with reentries really opened my eyes to see that and gain a more thorough understanding of the department as a whole, not just adult probation and parole that I've spent 23 years working in. I got my first cancer only worked for the department for about 1.5 years. In 2006, I popped out of remission. Me and my wife were told, you know, take some trips. You're going to die. And that wasn't an option for us. And so when I look at it from a lens where, you know, staff say something can be achieved, or, you know, there's something we can't do as a department, I guess that shaped me to say, no's never really going to be an option. We're going to always work to find a solution to fix whatever problem that may be.
I love working with Eric. I love being with Eric when we're not at work. And I've been able to share some time, whether it was at a conference or just outside of the workplace, his humor, his appreciation of others. It doesn't happen just at work. That's who he is. I use the phrase, think outside the box. There is no box with Eric. There is no box to place Eric in. So he is always willing to work outside of, inside, sideways from, underneath, wherever around whatever constraints we believe are in place. He will just work to make the situation better, find out what needs to be done. He's been a go-to person for a lot of things to help the division and help the department, to help our state.
You know, I've really enjoyed working for this department. I truly have loved working for adult probation and parole. In our current role, working with so many other divisions with reentry, because it isn't just an APMP thing, right? Reentry starts the day someone gets arrested. Reentry starts the day someone gets thrown in the back of that police car and gets taken to jail. It's planning on what success looks like when they get released from jail or prison, whether that's through education, whether that's through programming, a variety of different things. And that takes every division within our department to accomplish that. So it's been a really great opportunity working with so many great people in the department throughout all of our divisions. And I've been very fortunate to have that connection.
Furthering my education was only a pipe dream several years ago. I never imagined that I would get to have the opportunities that I've had here at the prison. Getting my education while I've been here has opened so many doors for me. And when I leave here, I will be able to have a career I like, not just a job. Furthering my education has changed who I am today. My future looks brighter than before. I know I can change the world, and so can you. Thank you.
We have to end unsanctioned camping in this state. It cannot be allowed to happen. The only way to do that is if you have shelter space available. And so that piece is really important. We also want to make sure that the services we're providing are actually working. And so you're going to see much more work around that. Again, holding service providers accountable, making sure that we're looking at the data, what's working and what isn't working. Let's do more of what works and less of what doesn't. We feel confident because we have a robust plan. This is the first time in our state's history that we brought everyone together to understand every single facet of homelessness and what's driving it and where the gaps are. And so we feel very good about this proposal. We're hopeful that the legislature will see the wisdom in it, and we look forward to getting this done over the next few months.
Yeah, my name is Blaine Nelson. I work for UCI. I've worked for UCI for 20 years. I'm responsible for the weld shop. I do all their designs and drafting and do bids and buy materials for whatever needs to be fabricated. Prior to the move to the new prison, we was tasked building cup rails, benches. We designed the new observation stations for all the units, and I worked very closely with the guys in the weld shop on designs and changes to make sure we get a good quality product. We've been asked to design some security chairs for the maximum inmates. It gives them an opportunity for education and religious services and that. And we had a prototype, but we completely redesigned the prototype and come up with a very nice product that operates very, very nicely and correctly. And I think it's a lot more comfortable than the prototype that we worked off of. So we completely redid that, and we worked closely with the guys in the shop and the fabrication as changes that need to be made on bushings and welds and measurements to make sure that it was comfortable for the guys that's going to be using them and easy to operate for the staff.
Hi, my name is Danny Sturgis. I work for the UCI welding program. I've been here for 5 years. I'm the lead fabricator and welder here at the shop. We have a wonderful design department. We have the best fabrication department. We created, we think, a superior product, and we're pretty proud of the way that it came out. And like I say, it was quite a lot of work, and from the inception to the drafting to the fabrication to the actual welding and painting and everything. And I'm pretty proud of the way the way that everything came out. And at the end of the day, we just hope that we can continue to grow and that we can provide everyone's fabrication and design needs. And the sky's the limit. And thank you for your time.
Today is so important because it is the next step in the future that I want to have. It started with, sadly, my incarceration, which, looking through a different lens, is something I'm actually very grateful for because I've made so much growth and so many changes.
They're really trying to help us here. Like, this whole experience really helps because a lot of us come from underserved communities, and we've been in these traps and it hasn't worked out. And just having the ability to come and be like, hey, these are things I can do. These are people that are actually trying helps. It helps.
It makes you feel better about transitioning, better about not just being thrown out there and thinking that just because you have a background, nobody's gonna hire you, or thinking that there's that barrier. It gives us hope, and it gives us something to look forward to and just keep our head up.
Us being felons, it's hard to re-enter into society after being named a felon, and you have to go through all those steps, and it definitely gives you new hope.
I feel like the more steps that I take to ensure a more successful, better future, the more successful I'll be at it.
They're looking for people who are hardworking and who are willing to learn, grow, and move themselves forward. I believe they're going to be a good employee for you. That's why it's so important for you to get involved and take every moment while you're in prison to move yourself forward.
Well, I'm a family man, and I've got three kids, and if I'm drug-free, crime-free, I've got a job, I can support them, I can raise them.
That's the biggest step in the battle, is having that income to keep yourself from, coming back up to prison. And it would mean everything to me and my family, my children, and myself.
I just want to have more, a better life, more of everything, better things. And not just for me, but for my future generations.
This is the first time in my life that I've actually done things to better myself. And it's being shown just by people coming out here and trying and saying, hey, look, God is showing us that there's a better way.
And knowledge is power. Even if you think that you can't do it, I thought the same thing, and I have accomplished so many things since I've been here. So please don't ever doubt yourself.
It's all me now, and so I have to really take responsibility of my life, and I want a career, I want to be happy, and I want to make my family proud.
officer.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support, obey, and defend.
That I will support, obey, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the State of Utah.
The Constitution of the State of Utah.
That I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
And I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
My name's Sally. I'm the lead of the Dell UCI Women's Sew Shop. Recently, we had the opportunity to make diaper bags. We're aiming for between 150 to 200. They're going to be donated to a domestic violence women's shelters. The 8 women that work in the sewing shop have all had the opportunity to learn a new skill set. It's different material. We're all super excited, and the fact that it's going to a good cause makes it that much more exciting for us to work on it. We don't get a lot of opportunities to get back to the community, and the fact that we're able to do it has meant a lot, not only to me, but to the whole team. Everybody's enthusiasm for it, everybody's participated in it, and we've all enjoyed it, and it's just a good feeling to be able to give back.
I'm Lieutenant James Demkoff. I'm currently assigned to Antelope as well as STG. So I think our job as a whole is to try to do anything we can to help offenders rehabilitate to where they're better off when they exit the facility than when they entered. So I think anything as far as just getting to know the offenders on a daily basis when you're working with them, whether that's at the housing unit or whether you're in visiting or you have the opportunity of visiting to even meet some of their family members and kind of get a bigger picture. No matter what someone did or didn't do in their past, there's a why tied to that. There's a story there, and I think taking the time to learn that story and figure out that why can help you assist that person in a better way.
Met Demkoff here at the department some years ago in the Okers, and then just worked with him throughout my career, worked and learned from him. He's amazing. He is the embodiment of the department's vision of improving lives of staff and offenders. That's what he's here for. Everyone around him, staff or offender, he makes better. He makes the culture better. He makes the environment better. He's knowledgeable, friendly, approachable. He's here. He just makes everyone around him better.
James is able to understand the challenges that we face as a department and also offer solutions and strategies that align with our mission. So his role as an STG coordinator is to really gather intel, document, interview, relationship building, communicating with the offenders, communicating with the OMR teams. The challenge is doing that as a one-person job, right? The only way this works is to build that rapport with the offenders, inviting that environment to where he is approachable and the offenders are comfortable with sharing some of these things that are critical to problem solving. So he, along with Lieutenant Johnson, Sergeant Nacarado, put together sports tournaments. Again, it's a way to give those offenders an opportunity to demonstrate that positive behavior.
So years ago, it's something we did in the Okers, right? It's something we both enjoyed. It very quickly became evident that it was a positive thing for the unit, for the offenders, for the staff.
People have literally come up to us and said they didn't feel like they were in prison for those 4 hours, right? So it kind of reminds people of what things can be like. I really like this job, I like this career, I like my coworkers, I like our mission. So when I have people inquire as to what it's like here, they're probably gonna hear a lot of good from me because that's how I feel about it. I would just like to give a shout out to everybody. I mean, it could be whatever your role is, it's tied to an unimaginable amount of people for everything to be successful. It could be as much as just the the janitorial staff to the clerical staff to the medical staff to our peers at AP&P to IPP to other departments to the counselors, we all work together to try to do the same thing. And when you see all those things come together at once, that's when you get some real positive momentum. So I think anyone I've come into contact with, I thank them all. There's a lot of good people doing a lot of good things every day. And there's numerous people that could easily be getting interviewed right now. And so I just, everyone keep doing all the awesome stuff, and I'm just happy to be here.
A big part of what started my addiction was my mental health, because I didn't want to take the medicine that they gave me, or I would start taking it and then I was like, oh, I'm fine. It goes like that, like the time is just gone. So as much as you think, oh, I'm only drinking right now, or oh, I'm only smoking weed, or you know, it spirals so quickly.
With the state facing a mental health crisis and high suicide rates, Utah leaders looked for new ways to help. Senator Daniel Thatcher and Representative Steve Elison played a key role in finding an innovative solution, an app that connects people to the resources they need.
Everybody knows how to get police, fire, and ambulance. Nobody knows how to get behavioral health or brain health or mental health or whatever you want to call it. Nobody knows where to get help for brain stuff. And so my initial effort was to get a 3-digit number. Because if we can get a 3-digit number, we can be as successful with brain health as 911 is with physical health. Unfortunately, that was a little more complicated than you'd think it ought to be. And so in the meantime, because we weren't willing to wait, we decided that we'd put together an app.
The Safe UT app was first rolled out to schools, giving developers a way to easily track adoption since it targeted a fixed population. It continued to expand with separate versions of that app created for the Utah National Guard and for frontline workers. Thatcher knew there needed to be a different type of communication resource for certain groups after a conversation with a combat veteran who struggled to connect with the therapist.
Here's this person who has no idea what it's like to be under fire, to be under threat, to have to fight for their life, and how is he supposed to open up to someone who just has no frame of reference for that kind of challenge?
Elison could also see the need.
I became acutely aware of the great stresses that many frontline workers face, from law enforcement to firefighters to corrections to EMS. And frankly, one of the greatest job hazards are trauma and mental health related issues tied to that trauma.
Safe UT Frontline was developed to give frontline workers access to mental health resources.
Corrections, rightfully so, has their own portal to get these types of services that are free and confidential and available 24/7. One of the really important things about Safe UT Frontline is that it is completely outside the chain of command. So an individual that is having some mental health challenges, a lot of on-the-job stress, may be considering having thoughts of self-harm, they can use the app, speak either verbally or through the text chat component with a licensed clinical therapist at the Huntsman Mental Health Institute, free of charge, and it's completely confidential and anonymous. If somebody's listening to this and they're struggling, please don't hesitate to reach out for help. It's there 24/7, 365, no cost, confidential, and completely anonymous.
Take out your phone right now, install SafeUT Frontline right now so that it's there, if not for you, then for the guy next to you.
Advice from lawmakers who are on a mission to save every life they can.
We tell staff, get out, communicate, interact with others, but the environment doesn't necessarily allow for it. So this is an environment to come and interact and network. And we're nothing without them. Problems they solve on a day-to-day basis, the way they interact with others inside the department or the incarcerated folks, we're really nothing without them. A sense of teamwork, sense of purpose. I mean, there's not a person that shows up on a day-to-day basis that doesn't understand the impact they have on others. They have a huge sense of pride to the facility and their peers that they work with.